meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering, they're cheering, and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell! Give 'em a hand! And let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on.
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and we are back live. Holy shit. There we are back live from New York City. We're going to get into the chat, but here we go again. Let's talk about Carlos Correa. Let's talk about him again. Where's this son of a bitch going to go? I think we'll have a pretty good idea in the next few days, probably sometime by Tuesday. We'll find out what's going on here. I don't think this is going to be going on much longer for that matter. I think that this has gone past the point of no return. Again, not to sound like a broken record, I said last week we didn't hear about what was going on with Correa by Wednesday after the holiday. That in all likelihood, this player was not going to be with the Mets. And so far, we're now on Saturday. We're on Saturday with no resolution, and it seems that the Twins are back in it, for good or for worse. Hello, Jake and Aiden. We'll get into chat. Hello, Mets Nation, Mets Knicks fan. Let's go. Garden State Gardner. Hello, BMW 05, Lendog 73, Sean Zarnecki, Beyond the Man 5, Nostalgic Inclination. So, the issue really is, at least from me, is that, and it's based off just his injury history. He has been hurt a lot in his career. This is not about 2014. This is about all the years that he has been in the major leagues, and he's missed significant amounts of time. The last 2 years, like I said in the video that I did earlier at 12:30, he has missed 46 games in the last 2 seasons. He missed 26 games in 2022, which means that he missed a full month of games. He missed significant time in 2018 and 2019. 2018, he missed 52 games. In 2019, he missed 75 games. Oh, no, 87 games. He played 75 games. Missed almost 100 games in 2019. This is a guy that's had big injuries to his body, and he's 28 years old. How many 28-year-olds that are athletes have these kinds of injuries? I was thinking about it. It's a good comparison. Troy Tulowitzki. He was always hurt, but he was better. I think was a better player than Correa. I mean, I have a major problem with this, and I know I'm sort of like in the minority on this situation. And I don't need to read the tea leaves. I don't need to ask the actual owner when this is going to get resolved. It's going to get resolved this week. Because now, like I said, just wanted to sort of point out that this has gone on long enough. Hello, John Stonebreak. How you doing, Stoney? How you doing? Angie Saldana. Ding, ding, ding. That is it. There you go. Isn't that the best question to have in this situation? If he's had so many injuries, then why do we want him? That's a good question. Now, I don't want the player. Okay? just based on his history. And I am a fan. I'm about as big a fan as you're going to get. I've been following the Mets since I was a little kid, and I want to see the Mets win a World Series again. And his just going into this very objectively. Do the Mets need a third baseman? No. Is Carlos Correa a third baseman? Well, no, not by trade. He's been a shortstop his whole career. He has been a shortstop. So why is he going over the third base? Nostalgic inclination. His value isn't all in his statistics, but the Mets can live without him. True. I mean, it's more than statistics. It's playing. He doesn't play. That's the problem. He doesn't play, this guy. Yeah. I've been hearing about how great he is. He doesn't play. He doesn't play. All right? He doesn't play. So if he's not playing, how's he a great player? You have to be on the field to be great. You have to perform to be great. Right? And we know he's a good offensive player in postseason. That's without any kind of doubt. But you have to get there. I want to look and see how many times he's played third base. He has never played third base in the major leagues. Just think about that for a second. We're getting all this twisted over the last 2 weeks because of this particular player, and he's never played an inning at third base. How's he going to perform there over the course of a season? How? How is that possible? I mean, that makes zero sense. So you're putting a guy that's never played third to play third. And the Mets have had a third baseman that was pretty good last year. I mean, you could say whatever you want about his offense. But I mean, he's been a third baseman. Correa's never played third. Frank Matos, Hut, did you see 40 New York Mets was at Citi Field and spoke with Steve Cohen? I saw that. I have a question. Did he get in there because of John Boy? He's corporate now. Whatever happened to his Rangers channel? Didn't he have a Rangers channel? Just saying. But the thing is that you have a situation where the player is a square peg in a round hole. We know what happened. I'm not gonna paint anybody with a broad brush. I hate doing that. But we know that Lindor is good friends with him. We also know that the last time the Mets brought in a guy that was good friends with Lindor, it was a disaster with Javi Baez. And that didn't go over well. Now, Correa is not as mild-mannered as... He's not as mild-mannered. I mean, Correa's not as mild-mannered as Baez is. How's he going to handle the Mets fans booing him if he gets off to a slow start? Let's see. Nostalgic says he'll be fine at third if he can stay healthy. Ding, ding. And here's the thing. Ripken, you mentioned Ripken and Rodriguez in this comment. Ripken and Rodriguez, all-time players, and they played every day. Cal Ripken played every day. He never took a day off. Correa's always hurt. He's always hurt. The guy never stayed healthy. Guy never stays healthy. I told you, he missed a full month last year. 26 games is basically how many games are in a month. 26 to 28. I don't need to ask Steve Cohen when this is going to get resolved. It's going to get resolved this week. That's my prediction. Word came from Jim Bowden. I mentioned this that the Twins, they're progressing in terms of this, in terms of a contract. Let them go. I want the best for the Mets. I want to see them have players that play here that are going to play. What was one of the problems that we know of about the time that the Wilpons were running the team? You always had players that were always injured. He's always hurt. Frank says this. He's not hurting the playoffs where they need him most. But you have to get there first, man. They're going to be giving him $315 million. You have to get there first. It's not worth it. So let me ask you this. It's a very simple question. The Mets, he plays all year last year. Or he misses sometimes. Say he misses 20 games. Misses 20 games. Plays 142, which is not acceptable in my book. They go to the World Series, they win the World Series. And then over the next 10 years, 11 years, he's never in the lineup. It's not worth it. Like I said, I don't believe he's not going to make or break this team. They will be in postseason one way or the other. They were in postseason last year without him. And I would say this, he is not a centerpiece player. He's a complementary player. Because when he was the best player on the Twins bombed. The Twins were terrible last year. They faded in the second half, and he was on that team. And that should tell you something. He is not worth that money. He's a complimentary piece. If the Mets were willing to sign him, and the player was willing to take 4 or 5 years, I would be fine with that. You're talking about 12 years. 12 years is insane. 10 years is insane. And he's not a guy that's been here. He's going to have a major adjustment situation here. Lindor had trouble adjusting here. Mike Piazza had trouble. Carlos Beltran. Beltran's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Piazza is a Hall of Famer. Lindor need to keep watching. But Correa is not a Hall of Fame player. And again, if you're great, you stay on the field. Okay? And 2 of the last 5 years, he's had OPS pluses under 100. That means that he is below average as an offensive player. Now, his averages, the numbers over those other years have been wonderful. But again, you got to play. You got to play. You got to get on the field. You got to get your uniform dirty. You got to play out there. That's all I'm asking. John Stonebreaker. Is there any news on Correa or just the same news as yesterday? I mean, I did a video earlier mentioning that the Twins are talking with Boris and Correa, and they're progressing on a contract. Okay. I think a lot of this is scare tactics on Boris's part. The Twins really want him. They want him back. Why? Again, he's not a centerpiece player, but he would be their best player. And it's coming along. And I think like I said, it's a lot of scare tactics on Boris's part to make the Mets blink. Understand something about Steve Cohen. He doesn't blink. Nostalgic Inclination says Correa wants the Mets. Well, if he wants the Mets, why didn't they sign? If he wants to be here so badly, he should sign with the Mets. Simple as that. The sports doctor, says, why does this remind me of A-Rod back in his skanky days? Well, here's the thing about A-Rod. A-Rod is a better player than Correa is. A-Rod was a great shortstop, not a good shortstop. He was a great shortstop. And he moved over to third base because, the the high and mighty Derek Jeter didn't want to move. But he was a better defensive player than Jeter ever was. And but it's a totally different situation. And then A-Rod always put the numbers up. Um, but the thing is that you have to sort of look at it honestly. I look at this very honestly. I'm gonna admit, if the player had done certain things in his career, like say for instance, driven 100 runs, he's never done that. Has he hit 30 home runs once? No. Is he a classic number 5 hitter? No. You sort of you try to find these little check marks. Can he do this? Can he do that? We know he's a great defensive shortstop. He's never played third. He's never done these things offensively that the Mets need. They need him to be a guy that bats fifth behind Pete. I cannot figure out in this lineup where you play him, where you bat him. I like the way the Mets had that 1 through 4 last year, and I like to stick with that. And then I could bounce McNeil wherever I want in the lineup. And Marte, you bat him second, and he stays there. And Marte is a player. He is a player that you have to bat him. I like batting him second. I think he's perfect. And then with the new rule changes and then moving the bases closer to each other, the stone base is going to come back. So he's got to bat in the top of the lineup. Correa is just not. He's just not the kind of player I want that's going to protect people. I just don't know if he's good enough for that. Christian Jam J says 28.996% chance. Game of chicken and Mets are not budging. They're not. They're not budging. Steve Cohen has dealt with these kinds of situations before. As a guy that has his business, he deals with much larger sums of money, and he hasn't budged. He's successful for a reason. He's successful for a reason, and I don't see him budging on this. Especially when we had this issue with and the thing that flagged it has nothing to do with his injuries in Major League Baseball that he's had for the last 8 years. Has nothing to do with it. The sports doctor says, what do you think of the rule changes? I think the fact that there's no more shift is excellent. I think that's why these games have been boring at times for people. You'll see more offense in the game. I am not a fan of the shift. I don't like having all these infielders on one side of the field. What they'll do is they'll put the shortstop pretty far over as they can to the second base. But you're not going to see these extremes where guys are out in the outfield. I think it was ridiculous. Harbor Brave says JD and the Red Sox negotiations lasted 52 days. Holy shit. Let me tell you something. As a YouTuber, I hope it's 52 days. Because people have been coming in here subscribing to the channel like crazy. But as a fan, I don't really like that. I don't like that idea. Now, please, of course, subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I haven't said that since I've been ranting. And, of course, like this video, like this live stream. I'll be back again, hopefully tomorrow on a live stream. We'll see how things go. I'm basically, what I'm trying to do here, everything's sort of in a holding pattern. Been sort of in a holding pattern over the last couple of weeks because I've been wanting to do stuff on my Football Hut. But because of this thing with Correa, I have to focus in on that. And I'm sort of waiting on that. Mets Nation. Who's better, Profar or Pollock? Pollock. I don't like. First of all, Profar is an infielder playing the outfield. Let's have good defense. Pretty much. One of the best defensive teams. Pollock is an outfielder, and he's been a good defensive outfielder in his career. Now, obviously, I think Profar is a switch hitter, if I remember right. Or at least he bats left-handed. The Mets could use a guy that bats left-handed, but I'm not a big fan of his. I don't get too crazy about, guys that are Met kills and they come here. They don't normally do well. You get to see what they're really like when they're not going up against the Mets, and he's a classic Met killer. Profar is looking for 5 or 6. Get the hell out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. That's terrible. Now, McCutchen. Not talk much about Andrew McCutchen. Hello, Jay Cassidy. That is not a bad idea. I think he's got to play him every day. He's an everyday player still. Let me see something. Let me look at his numbers. Now, please, can you get me one more? Need one more pin, Rodney. Need one more subscriber. And then we'll be 30 subs away from 3,000. Almost at 3,000 subscribers. And just look at my Twitter feed. Let's see. Hello, Benny Malika. But McCutchen, I think he still has it, even though he doesn't have his Samson hair anymore. Isn't it weird that once he cut his hair, and he cut it for charity, that ever since he cut his hair, he's not quite the sort of invincible player that he once was. But Andrew McCutchen, this is a pros pro. Let me just go through his numbers real quick from last year. Now, last year he played for the Brewers. His OPS plus was 99, so it was slightly under 100. He hit 17 home runs and drove in 69 runs. He's a great pro, great professional player. He's not going to embarrass the organization, any organization that he plays for. And he's still an everyday player. Let me see some other things. He kind of still bases still. I would not mind. I would not be mad about him coming here. I would not have a problem with him being here. He's primary left fielder, right fielder. I don't think he really plays center field anymore. I would not mind having him here. I think he would not be a terrible fit, and he's played in New York a little bit when he's with the Yankees. I would not take I would not take issue with him. I always liked him anyway. I always kind of admired his ability. He's such a good player with Pittsburgh. You can't just get all like stars here. You need some role players. You need some veteran guys. You need some young guys. You need a mix. And like I said, Correa is not a good fit with the Mets. He's a square peg in a round hole. He's a square peg in a round hole. I just don't think that he is what the Mets really need right now. John Stonebreaker, do you think that Profar is a good player? He's okay. He's all right. He could do better. And if he was so good, when the Padres have re-signed him, nobody knows you better than the team that has you. Fans on other teams don't necessarily know all these players. That's how I don't get too worked up, and I get with certain players, and then I'll get too upset. But I get very upset when players like him kill the Mets because it's like he's terrible. When I look at his numbers, but his numbers are just off the wall. I noticed that at Metco, Wilmer Dilfer, where the hell did he go? He signed with some team out of the division, out of National League. Mike Schmidt, he's not Mike Schmidt, not at all. The sports doctor says, why do the Mets love Correa so much? Who is he? Mike Schmidt? Not even close. Not even close, man. I wish that I could figure out this love affair all of a sudden. It's a bizarre thing. I'm very surprised at it because this I went to bed that night and then when I got up, I was like, wait a minute. The Mets signed Correa? I was like, why? It happened like in the middle of the night. Yeah, this should be teach your kids a lesson out there. Never get involved with somebody in the middle of the night. Uh, you know, don't get involved with somebody in the middle of the night. You know, D74. And I had mentioned this. Glad the Phillies got Soto. He gives up way too many. Oh my God. Let me ask you something. We talked about Soto during the live stream the other night. And he has walked like five five runners per 9 innings. It's insane. All right, let me get to some of these detractors. From David Smith. Why in the world would a Mets fan not want Correa? Well, it's funny you should ask. He's always hurt. The guy is always injured. He never plays. Great, he plays in postseason, but you have to get there. You have to get the postseason. He's missed 46 games in the last 2 years. 2019, 2018, he missed 52 games. 2019, he missed 87 games. This is a guy that's always injured. David Smith, it's Cohen's money, not yours. No, but we're stuck. Would you want a guy that's going to be here for 12 years and is injured for most of that time? No. Come on. George Blandia. Correa isn't a good fit. The one thing they need is for clutch players, especially in the playoffs. How did the Mets do against the Padres? One freaking hit. Just say no. Oh, against that grease ball? Musgrove? I'm going to make a prediction about Musgrove. He will get caught at some point in the future with this whole thing with him greasing his ears up. He's going to get caught. Okay? He will get caught. I can guarantee you that. David Smith. He missed a month last year. He missed 26 games last year, David. He missed 26 games. That's a month of a season. He missed a month. Not hurt that much. Again, he's injury prone. David Smith says Mets need another all-star player in this line. I agree with that, but not this player. Not this player. Okay. Go with what you have, see what's available at the trade deadline, and then do something there. George says this, deflecting to Musgrove now. I don't think you're aware of how this channel is. You didn't respond to one. I did. If the guy is oiling up and using the baseball as a grease ball, who the hell's going to hit that? Right? I answered your question, Georgie. I answered your question. You don't like the answer. That's not my problem, sir. George, which Met hits well in the playoffs? Just one. I mean, the Mets have not been in the playoffs in a long time. Okay? And I would mention so you basically think that Pete Alonso's garbage, Francisco Lindor is garbage. If those two guys had hit, and we're talking about two people, the Mets would have won the division. They would have won that playoff round. Oh, David, there goes David. Why did the Mets not sign Adam Duvall and Mancini if they get Correa or not? Mancini played terrible for the Astros last year. He played terrible. He played terrible in postseason. And Duvall, you don't want Duvall. He's old. You don't want him. You don't want him. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his. Very angry. I don't know why you're taking it out on me. Because I'm not giving you what you want. I'm sorry. I look at the players honestly. I don't care who the players is. You know, let's not talk about the playoffs. We move on. We go on to the next thing. That's how I look at things. I'm surprised nobody's bringing up Bobby Bonilla. I mean, the comments that I've been dealing with the last couple of days have been ridiculous. People bringing up Bobby Bonilla and the past. It has nothing to do with anything. We're here and we're in the now. Okay. This was a weird offseason because the Mets had so many free agents. They had to sign Limo. They had to bring in a pitcher that was going to replace Jacob deGrom. They did those things. They re-signed Edwin Diaz. They needed to do that. They improved the bullpen. They actually got a lefty that can get lefties that do good job out there with the lefty they got from the Rays. I'm happy they brought in David Robertson. Mets were very, very busy this offseason. Look, David, you got to, if he's so good, why didn't the Braves re-sign him? Yeah, Trey Mancini does not fit with the Mets now. Okay, like I said, you got to find. We're now at the point now. This is pretty much what the Mets are going to be now, going into the spring training, and there will be moves that'll be made. These sort of bringing in another reliever. You're not going to see any all the big relievers are gone. All the big relievers are gone. They're going to sign some guy that I'm trying to think of a pitcher. Who's left on here? I don't even know. I don't even know right now. But they'll sign some players on some minor league deals. There's really nothing left on this list of players, to be honest with you, that I have here. There's nobody. Maybe Andrew Chafin, but nobody's picked him up so far. There's got to be a reason why he always signs so late with these teams. Got to be an issue with him. I mean, really, there's nothing really left on the market now. The Mets filled their needs. They had to sort of maintain what they had, and they're doing that, and they've done that. Now we know that Correa is a good postseason player, but he's always hurt. He's always injured. That's my concern. That is my concern, is the injuries that he has during the season. If you bring him in here, he's going to get injured. He's going to be out for periods of time. If you bring him in here, the Mets are going to have to make a move. For instance, trading Eduardo Escobar, or trading a Brett Beatty, or trading a Mark Vientos, or trading a Ronnie Mauricio, whose value has skyrocketed this offseason. So this doesn't just you bring the player in, but if the player's hurt and you start divesting yourself of these other players, once this player gets hurt and you bring in these and then you don't have this depth that everybody's complaining about, then you're screwed. Right? And the Mets have let it be known that they don't want to trade their prospects. Okay. Here's this great attitude. All right. David Smith. Really, David? They won 101 games. 101 games. Think about that. Think about what you're saying. He's a horrible general manager. He won 101 games in his first year as general manager. This is a guy that signed Shohei Ohtani, but he is a terrible general manager. This is a guy that studied and learned under Stick Michael. Who's Stick Michael, you might want to know. He's the architect of what was going on in the other part of town. All right. If you don't want to give somebody credit where credit is due, then you just want to complain. He failed the Mets at deadline. Okay, who did you want? David, who did you want for the Mets to get at the trade deadline. You put a name in here that was an available player that the Mets. I would mention about the Angels. The Angels are a failure. They're getting sold. So, David, since you seem to know everything, you know the ins and outs of the Mets, apparently. Why don't you write to me in the chat, put a name of a player that you wanted the Mets to get, and we'll talk about it. Okay, you said he failed the team, but I would point out again, the reason the Mets did not go far in postseason is because 4 players failed them in September and in October, and they were already on the team. Jacob deGrom, Max Scherzer, Pete Alonso, and Francisco Lindor. Okay. So I'm just going to ask you, since you're very chirpy, tell me what player you wanted the Mets to get that would have made a difference. The whole chat's waiting. We're waiting. I don't have all night, but I'm waiting. Give me a player. We'll talk about it. He traded Holderman, second best Met reliever. Holderman, did you know he got injured right after he got traded to the Pirates? Holderman, you never heard of him. I'm sorry. You never heard of Holderman until they called him up. And Vogelback actually did a pretty good job. I'm talking about what play you wanted here. Tell me, which play did you want here? He traded Holderman. Holderman, how many games did Holderman pitch for the Mets? Let's look at this logic here. Talking about a player that hadn't been with the Mets that long. Colin Holderman. Let's see. Colin Holderman pitched 15 games for the Mets. So you're angry that the Mets traded a player that pitched 15 games for them and threw 17 2/3 innings. Again, I'm asking you, which player did you want the Mets to get? I don't want to hear the complaining about players. J.D. Davis is terrible. He is terrible. Oh, let me show you something, explain something to you too. When Holderman pitched for the Pirates, he had an ERA of 6.75. Colin Holderman was a 9th round pick in the 2016 draft. He's 27 years old. 27 years old. This is a guy you're getting upset about. I want to hear from you. J.D. Davis can't hit. He cannot hit good pitching. He's got a slow bat. I watched him for 4 years. Do your research. The guy can't hit good pitching. And Dom Smith can't hit any pitching. I saw him enough. J.D. Davis was terrible here, and he can't play third. He's not an infielder. He's a DH at the best. I'm asking you again, David. One more time. You're getting very close to the phantom zone now. Stop your complaining and tell the chat who you wanted the Mets to trade for. I don't know what you have. Now, Darren Ruff was terrible here. There's no sugarcoating that. Vogelback did a good job. You got what you paid for with him. Okay? Again, grow up and tell us who you want to hear. You're complaining about all these different players. You're defending J.D. Davis, who was terrible here with the Mets for a few years, was mediocrity. We want excellence here. We don't want mediocrity. Okay. J.D. Davis's OPS with the Mets went before he got traded was 97, so he's below average. That's for a good team. Okay. He goes to the Giants. The Giants totally out of it. Totally out of it. The chat's waiting, David. I'm giving you every chance. I don't normally give people this long of a time. Yes, I mean, the Mets did not want to trade their prospects. This season coming up, they're probably going to be more willing to trade their prospects because guys have developed. The Mets had a very good draft last year, and they're going to have a good draft this year. David has no answers. Okay. All right. David, he's 27 years old. The fact that you can't answer my question, you're now, let everybody know that I gave him every chance to talk. I've given you every chance. So you don't want to let up. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I hate having to do that, but you're gone. You're gone. Have a good life. I'm sure you'll come back in an alternate account. He got sent off. I hate to do that. And then he insults me at the end. Okay. Haldeman pitched 15 games for the Mets. Okay. He went to Pittsburgh, pitched terribly with the Pirates. 27-year-old relief pitcher who's been in the Mets, or was in the Mets organization for 6 years. The guy was in the minor leagues for 6 years. I'm not getting worked up. I never get worked up about a middle reliever. I never get worked up, and nobody else should either. Oh, they shouldn't have moved him. He pitched 15 games. I felt like I knew him my whole life. I mean, come on. John Stoneberger, how long do you stay in the Phantom Zone, Hut? Well, that's an interesting question. Because I had some comic book people that were in there, and a lot of them, I have released a lot of them. But since I don't do comics anymore, that they're kind of like, they've gone on their merry little way, and I have too. I hope you enjoyed the little go back and forth with me in this group. This guy, David. Cameron Gillius, New York Yankees own y'all. Okay. Are you from the South? We're going to get Reynolds. Okay. Oh, y'all. Are you from the South? I don't think you're from the South. The Yankees can get out in their own way. They're the flagship team, They haven't been to the World Series in like 14 years now. Mets were in the World Series like 7 years or 8 years ago now. But the Yankees getting back to the World Series. They've never gone this long without going to the World Series. The decade of 2010 to 2020 was the first time the Yankees did not go to the World Series. And the Mets own New York now, buddy. The Mets are the second best. You can't even beat the Astros. Yankees own everybody, but they can't beat the Astros. And meanwhile, Brian Cashman does nothing but bellyache about the Astros from 8 years ago, or 5 years ago, whatever it is. Exactly nostalgic. The Yankees don't have a shortstop. Maybe they can since Derek Jeter doesn't own the Marlins anymore, maybe they could put him at shortstop now. Or put that really ugly wife in front of the baseball to scare the hell out of the baseball. Oof. She's a model? Or she was a model? Ugh. Ugh. All right. You're a fool. Goodbye. You talk like you're a gangster. I bet the closest you've ever been to a gang is you hanging out with the Sesame Street gang. Yeah. Goodbye, Cammy. Bye-bye. Well, the Yankee fans are very angry. I thought some of the old Met fans are angry. Hold on, I need a drink. Look, 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 look. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. You won't see this on any other channel. No, you won't. This is like tame from what I'm used to. The chat's more active, but I'll get like 6 or 7 people in the old channel, and it was like the Wild West. This is tame compared to that. It really is. That's right. Yankees suck. When the Yankees lose and the Mets win, it's a good day. Never forget that. Yankees have been doing a lot of losing, and a lot of losing to the Astros. And they still haven't improved their offense. They still haven't brought in guys that can beat the Astros, by the way. I wonder how many decades Brian Cashman is going to get before Hal Steinbrenner realizes that he's doing a crappy job. But it's been a fun live stream. I don't care what anybody says. So subscribe if you want to deal with more insanity on this channel. You won't see this. You won't see this in Ballcast Sports. I can tell you that. Or Wardy who likes everything. That's the purpose of all this stuff, is to be entertaining. You never know what I'm gonna say. Like me or don't like me. Argue with me. I gave that David guy plenty of chance to mention a player. Instead, he was complaining about Vogelback. Vogelback did a good job. He was better than Dom Smith. Remember Dom Smith crying? Oh, I should read you this. I got to read this. Let me find this. Man, I'm thinking about it. That's right. Never forget that either. Let me read you. I can get you some comments from Dom, because Dom got a press conference. This is from the WFAN site Odyssey. Headline. Dominic Smith ready for regular Nationals role after speed bumps in Mets tenure. Speed bumps? He was a bump. He was a hump at this point. Dom Smith sees his arrival in Washington as a chance to turn the page in his MLB career. Dear Diary, I stunk so badly, I'm stuck here in Washington. And finally find some stability in the playing time department, something he didn't have in recent years with the Mets. They played him every day for 2-3 years. Quote, it's a fresh start in my career, Smith said after being officially introduced by the Nationals on Wednesday. Why would you introduce a guy that got non-tendered by the Mets, by a 101-win team? And he was terrible. He's in the minor leagues. Quote, they want me to come in, this is the Nationals, play first base and share my knowledge of the game so younger players can skip some of the speed bumps in my career. He's in a speed bump. He's in a hole. I'm excited to go out and showcase my talent and what I can do out there. You got to put a little tear. You got to get some Kleenex, dab the eyes and stuff. Smith says he expects to be the regular first baseman with the Nationals, something he didn't have in New York, with Pete Alonso rising to stardom and taking that role. Pete took that role in spring training. And that spring training, of course, we know that he didn't show up for a game early. This article obviously doesn't mention that, And when Mickey Callaway has to suspend him for a day, it's messed up. But even with the DH coming to the National League, Smith couldn't find regular bats due to continue offensive struggles following a very promising 2020 campaign where he posted a 993 OPS in 50 games. And I would mention nobody in the ballpark. But since then, his OPS dropped 350 points, and he played in just 58 games last year. Quote, I don't want to say it affected my swing, but when I'm at first base, I'm comfortable. He was okay at first. He was average at best. Give me that thump at first. He's not Keith Hernandez. I can showcase my talent over there and not be worried where my position is. I haven't had that since 2017. He came up, he played lousy when he came up to the Mets. So I think it will help me have a clear head at the plate, and I'm just excited to have that again. Well, God bless him. Take his carnival act, his crying and everything else out of here. But let me, of course, remind you of how great yeah, he's another one. He's another one. What the hell? He didn't know his ass from a hole in the wall, that one. He goes wherever I look at what I do here as bigger than YouTube's. That's why I don't care about certain things. About being popular. My attitude will get me there. So Dom's OPS over the last 2 years with the New York Mets. Now, 100 is considered average. And 21, as an offensive player, his OPS plus was 83. Let me repeat that. His OPS plus was 83. In 2022, with the New York Mets, in 158 games, 62. Let me say it again. His OPS plus in 2022 was 62. And this fool David's complaining about was complaining that Vogelback was terrible. But Dom Smith had not hit a home run in over a year with the Mets, year and a half. He was relegated to the minor leagues. He had 0 home runs in 22 and 17 RBIs. In the course of his career, he's hit 46 home runs. Pete hit 40 home runs last year. And obviously 53 his first year. He's got 130 home runs in his career. He's got 46 home runs in his career, Dom Smith. His batting average as a player, 246. His on-base percentage, 308. His slugging percentage, 424. And his OPS is 733. Dom Smith is a terrible player. And he's got a slow bat. He's not... And he played for the Mets 6 years. He didn't play for the Mets. A little bit here, a little bit there. He had 1,200 at bats with the Mets. He'll probably do well in Washington. There's nobody there watching the games right now. They're in the middle of getting sold. That's basically a disaster now because they traded Juan Soto. So he's going to do well down there. He'll do well down there. There's no doubt in my mind because nobody cares down there right now. The fans do care, but nobody's going to the ballpark. So there's no pressure on Dom. From Swaggin Burger, I remember in Giraffe Neck Mark's rankings one year, he thought Dom was better than Pete. He didn't know what he's talking about. And he's supposedly a Met fan. But that's the one thing about YouTube that's kind of difficult sometimes that, is that people gravitate towards channels that where if you have a certain perspective, you go there and you follow it. It's affirmation for the audience. I don't do that. I never done that. So, in the old days with the other channel, I was very controversial because they kind of went against even in the beginning, it was going against the curve and everything and against the current. But with these particular guys, they have to go with what the algorithm is. If the algorithm is saying that Dom is more popular than Pete, they're going to say Dom is more popular than Pete. And they'll say that without any kind of they don't care. They just want the subscribers. They want the money. I want the money too, by the way. But I'm not gonna I'm not gonna pretend I don't. I'm not gonna lie to the audience when it comes to these players. I dealt with a lot of nonsense on the other side. I don't need to deal with that here. And I just want to have a good relationship with you and just have you come in here. And you can argue with me that I let this one guy argue, but he didn't want to talk, He just want to keep complaining about 2 players, Ruff I had no issue with. I agree with him. Ruff was moving the players for him was not a big deal. But he didn't perform here. Let's go into a couple of things here. Still no update on Correa. It's still kind of the Twins are kind of interested and they're talking. Let's go into a couple things here. Now, please, of course, subscribe and like the video. Let's go through some of the free agents that are still out there. And I don't know what happened. Kind of got bumped out. Juraxa Profar I don't want him here. Does anybody want Michael Walker back? I don't think so. Matt Moore. He's a lefty now out of the bullpen. I would think about it, but I don't know if I want to give him a lot of money. Trey Mancini, no. Chad Green, no. Michael Fulmer, maybe a 1-year deal. Johnny Cueto, no, let's don't need him. Elvis Andrews, where's he going to go? He actually had a pretty good year with the A's last year. Just to see where he winds up. Brian Anderson. Did Brian Anderson sign with somebody? Adam Duvall. I don't really want him. Zach Britton. I could see the Mets signing him on a minor league contract, especially if Buck is here. Or maybe you can give him a contract. The Mets 40-man roster is full. They DFA was William Wood, Woody Harrelson. No, I think they DFA'd him, and the Mets roster's down to 40. It's back to 40 again. So they're still going to have to make some moves here and see what happens. Just going to do a couple of things here. I mean, that trade with the Phillies today, I mean, Dombrowski knows the player, but the guy walks a lot of batters. Is he going to be the closer down there? How's he going to handle the fans screaming at him down in Philly when it's been quiet for the last few years with the Tigers? You know. Of course, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thank you, that sports doctor. Thank you for the nice comments in the chat. We're now 28 subs away from 3,000. Please get this channel sub, please. Yeah, think about Pete is when you hear people comparing him to guys like Joe DiMaggio and Jimmy Fox and Ralph Kiner, you know, and Dom Smith only has 46 home runs in his career, you know, and then people don't know what they're talking about. Not paying attention to what's going on in the field. And like I said, I always want to be honest when I talk to you all, especially what I think. I think if you subscribe to the channel, you like what I have to say, and you know, it kind of goes against the current to a certain degree. Now I don't know what's going to happen with this Correa deal. I'm very willing to put myself out on a limb when it comes to taking a stand with a player, or just a thing kind of that's out there, an issue. And I've been doing that for 2 years, doing this, and it's not easy. I mean, when I got to take a stand on a player or something, I look at it like, well, I'll just have to deal with it. It's not like dealing with the insane asylum. That's the reaction. Like it is the comic side. It's like dealing with the, when you deal with insane people like I did on the other side. This is wonderful. It's pleasant to deal with. But again, Correa is a player that he's very talented. People keep telling me that he's a great player, but being great means you have to stay on the field. You have to be out there for your team every day. That is very important. Why was Lou Gehrig great? Not just because of the performance, but because he was out there every day. Why do people admire Cal Ripken? Was he the greatest shortstop in baseball history? No. Did he have years that he probably would have benefited by resting? No. Was he Ernie Banks? No. And just in terms of just as a player, was he Honus Wagner? No. But he's admired because he played every day. Basically, went to work every day. So that's what makes him great. That's what made him great as a player. It's the fact that he went out there every day, and it didn't matter if the team was good or bad. He went out there and he played, and that's important. Correa has not shown that. He's had bad injuries where he's missed significant time, missed half a season, missed a third of a season, and this has nothing to do with this injury he got in 2014. The sports doctor says, Hud, what do you think of Steve Garvey? A name from the past. Well, he's a little before me. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's a really good player. Very good defensive first baseman. He was really the big defensive first baseman until Keith came along. At the time, he basically ripped the Gold Gloves from Garvey. Clutch player. Did he ever win an MVP? National League MVP? Let me take a look. Yeah, so if you're watching this channel, this is not just the Mets channel. I didn't intend this to be a Mets channel. To be honest with you. This was intended to be a general Mets baseball channel. Yeah, I knew he won an MVP. He won the MVP in '74 in the National League. He played a long time. His numbers are a little short. You know, he didn't get 3,000 hits. Played on some great teams with the Dodgers. They'd lost a lot of times to the Yankees, to the A's, to the Reds. Played a lot of games. Played a lot of World Series games. Let me see how many World Series he played in. Now, of course, please like this video and subscribe to the Baseball Hut. He played in 4 World Series. 1 and 3. Oh, wait a minute. It lost to Oakland. So he was a guy that he was a very good player, not a Hall of Famer. But I didn't really get a chance to see him much. He was getting to the end when I saw him in 85, 86. But I vaguely remember him. Of course, please, we're gonna. I'll probably be back tomorrow, in a live stream talking about this again, and Monday and Tuesday. I expect this to be resolved this week. I don't expect the Mets to be doing this much longer. Okay, this will be resolved this week. I guarantee you that. By Wednesday, we will have a resolution to this whole thing. By Wednesday. That's my prediction. I don't like making predictions, but that's my prediction. By Wednesday, we will have this resolved. In that, he'll either sign with the Mets or he will continue to be unsigned. But the Mets will move on. This will be resolved by then. He might not be signed by any team. Either be the Twins or the Giants come back in this situation. But the Mets are going to be the Mets part of this end will be resolved by Wednesday. And either the player gives in to the demands of the Mets or he's going to move on. And the Mets are going to move on. Christian JMJ. Well, George, I would mention with the Mets will be resolved by Wednesday. At least the Mets. I think the Mets will either have him signed by Wednesday or they'll move on. Because they have to figure out what they're going to do with the team. Christian JMJ. Beatty, Alvarez, Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio. If the Mets part with any of these players, who do you think it would be? I would say Ronnie Mauricio. Because there is no place for him to play. He's kind of... He can't play shortstop. Because they're grooming him to be a shortstop. But the way he is physically... he's a big kid. I don't see him at short. Mets don't see him at short. Major League Baseball scouts don't see him at short long term. I see Vientos being here. I still think Ruff is going to get moved. Okay. I still think Darren Ruff is going to get moved. Although Buck does love his veteran players, But I can see Vientos being the DH from the left side. Uh, Alvarez isn't going to get moved. I think Alvarez is here for the duration. They're going to give him every opportunity to make it out of spring training as the starter. They brought in Narvaez. People forget about him, I guess. They brought him in as insurance in case there's a problem with Alvarez if he doesn't perform well. They upped people sort of forgot about him. Now they have a little more offense behind the play with Narvaez and a better defensive player. Um, and Beatty, I don't know where the Mets feel about him. I don't think he's ready yet. I think Vientos needs more. I need to see more Vientos just on the side. I He might be ready for the majors, but the Mets put him in a weird position. But I think Beatty needs more time in the minor leagues. So I don't think they're in a real rush to move him. Um, you know, yeah, I saw the comment by Wardy. Um, you know, I don't need to be told that from the owner. It's just common sense. The Mets aren't going to be sticking around too much longer with us because the news was the other night that the Mets were very frustrated and that they're getting ready to move on. And I would too. I think everybody wants the Mets to move on. Anthony Gates. Well, thank you, George. You're so respectful in the chat. Go, Wardy. Okay, go. I wonder what happened to his Rangers channel. By the way, I wonder what happened to his Rangers channel. He loves the Mets so much. But from Anthony, Beatty can be the next David Wright. I wouldn't go that far. We haven't seen him yet. David Wright, he ain't got hurt. He was a Hall of Fame player. But again, David Wright, you have to play every day to be great. And he got hurt. He let Citi Field get into his head, and Mets did a lousy job. Creating the dimensions. What a jerk that George guy is. What a jerk. What a jerk off. My favorite football team is the Giants. But I don't. Yeah, I kind of agree with you, D74. I think he could probably be a left fielder. I think. I need to see more of him. I just don't think his bat's ready. I don't think he's ready. Swaggy. Yeah, I've been on this stuff and following baseball since I was a kid. I read as much as I can when I can. When I was a kid, we used to have a library, and every day they put the papers out, and we would read it. Me and my friend, we would read all the baseball rumors. He was a big Yankee fan, and I was a Met fan, and we would just go through the rumors. And I've been like that since I was a kid. So I've been doing this. I've been doing this since I was a kid. So I was a teenager, reading the papers about the Mets and stuff. So I love talking about this. I can go all night and talk about this. But obviously, do a live stream and you get tired, you know. So I try to get as much information out there. Plus, I follow the game. It's not just the Met games I follow. I watch. I try to watch as many games as I can. I watch Yankee games. I watch. I love the MLB Network. When they put these other games on, I know the announcers on the other teams. I'll tell you the worst announcing team in baseball. The Tigers. Boring. That's boring. You just turn it off. They're that boring. You wouldn't know what was going on in the game listening to them because they're that boring. Um, you know. So I've been following the game a long time. I try to give you my and I love watching it. I'm constantly watching that documentary baseball. They're playing that on the MLB Network again. Been watching that. So I don't watch a lot of TV. I really don't. Now right now I got the football game on. I got the Raiders and the and the Chiefs on. Been watching a lot of football lately because for the football hut, trying to relearn the players. Thank God I know Patrick Mahomes just beforehand. Wish he was a giant. Daniel Jones has done a good job, but I've been following this stuff since I was a kid. I watch all the games, as many games as I can. I'm not in it. I'm in it for the glory, to be honest with you, and the money. But I would have been talking about this stuff anyway with somebody. But the one thing I love about talking about baseball is I can do it here. That's what's great about doing stuff online now. Because like I go to work and nobody cares about sports. If and I come here, I scratch my itch. So I get to do that here, and I get to make a couple bucks off of it, and get some subscribers off it. Which I should remind you, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut and like this video. Let's see where we're at now with the channel. 27. Can we get 27 more subscribers before I end the live stream? Hab Abreu, not baseball related, but is Daniel Jones a franchise quarterback? No. I would sign him to a long-term contract. But he's not a franchise quarterback. I mean, they probably could bring in somebody else and probably, somebody could do a good job, but that's fine. Just hold on to him. I think he's done a good job. He needs to do a good job and not hand off the football to the opponent. No turnovers. Let me tell you something about the Jets. Why did the Jets always? I was thinking about this today, thinking about some football stuff. Why did the Jets always bring in head coaches that have zero experience? When was the last time the Jets brought in a guy that had experience before they hired him? Was it Bill Parcells? And they'll bring in some guys in here that do well elsewhere. Pete Carroll's a good example of that. That Eric guy that got Rex Ryan had no experience as a head coach. He's the one guy that did a good job. But most of the time they bring in these guys that don't do a good job, and most of them don't have experience. Adam Gase. Oh, Adam Gase had experience, right? Adam Gase was the last guy. Adam Gase, you knew when the Jets hired Adam Gase that was going to be one of the biggest disasters you've ever seen in sports. You knew it right away. Like, what, he hypnotized them when they hired him? And then they hired Saleh, who's doing a good job until he didn't, but he's got no experience. They have to hire somebody with experience. John Sterling. Oh my God. John Sterling is going to keep doing these games until they put him in the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's going to be there until the end of whatever. And I understand that he's going to be cutting back on his schedule. I guess when you're in 105, I guess you need to cut down. I guess you got to cut back. But let me go back to where we started, because I tend to wander off sometimes. But so Correa, for really the last time I'm going to talk about it before I end the live stream. If the Mets sign Correa, let the buyer beware. Just based on his history as a player, injury-wise, I want to see him play every day. You have to. If you're a good player, you have to play every day. If you're a great player, you have to play every day. And you have to sort of understand that he's going to miss time, and that's why it concerns me that if they were to sign him, that they'll start moving players out of here, like Escobar. Well, I think he's a great guy to have in the clubhouse, and I think that you root for a guy like him. He's a bit of an underdog, Hobby, what's plan B if Carlos doesn't work out? I think you just play Escobar and you find out what you have in Beatty. Correa has never played third. I was going through his statistics. He's never played one game as a third baseman. The WBC, I don't count that. I don't count that. Um, you know, um, I don't count that, to be honest with you. Um, so if the plan B would be you just you can't have stars everywhere. Sometimes Escobar's a good player. He's a professional. The team won 101 games when he was not doing well. He had an excellent September. Um, September Player of the Month. And you play Guillorme there a little bit defensively. You give Beatty a shot. If the Mets need to make some kind of improvement, they go look for a third baseman. I am not concerned. And if you look at Correa's numbers as a third baseman, that's another consideration. They don't look nearly as impressive. I mentioned this previously about a week ago. Some people didn't really care for it. The numbers, just in terms of the numbers, not the OPS plus, but the numbers of Escobar and Correa are very similar. You're not really missing a lot, you know. Um, from Aaron Gandia, Gregory Soto to the Phillies official. He's going to walk a lot. um, you know, Otani is going to be the big fish. Let me tell you something. You think you're sick of hearing about Correa? You're going to be sick of me talking about Otani from now until the end of this year, to this calendar year. Let me tell you something, D74. I am excited to see Senga. This guy has a chance to be a star, you know, in the major leagues. He's got a chance, man. This guy is very impressive, and I was very impressed with the fact that he was speaking in English. The guy seems to have a personality. He seems to be a very nice guy. Um, and he really seems to genuinely want to be here. I didn't feel like there's any drama with him. He's very talented. He has a lot of hardware in Japan. He's a good defensive pitcher. I'm so excited to see him. He comes across as a guy that's got a personality. That he's not a stiff. Some players, it doesn't matter where they come from, can be very stiff, and he's very comfortable in his own skin, from what I can tell. Uh, I mean, I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Just his energy. He's got a lot of that Bartolo Colon energy to him. Thank you, the sports doctor. Thank you for coming by. So, this is going to be a fun season. And Senga, he's viewed as the number 3 starter in this rotation. He could be the number 1 starter on this team because he was the number 1 starter and one of the best pitchers in Japan for a long time. So he's just got to figure out how to pitch every 5 days. But he got a chance to be really good and a lot of fun to watch. I'm very excited to see him pitch. Everybody's complaining about Correa not getting in there, but you have all the. I forgot about Senga. Forget about it. He is the unknown factor here. If you are a team that's going to win 100 games, and the Mets won 100 games last year, they had a couple of guys that had career years. Chris Bass had a career year. Taijuan Walker had a career year. You need guys that are going to have career years for you to win 100 games. And Senga could be the kind of guy that could have a big year and make a huge difference with the Mets. So I look forward to seeing him pitch. He's going to be a lot of fun. And he's going to be here 5 years, so we're really going to learn a lot about him. And I think we're going to learn a lot about him very quickly. I mean, just the press conference, very impressive. So very excited to see him. Sort of forgot about him because he's sort of that under the radar. That'll tell you what kind of general manager the Mets have. It's a move more of him than really some of the players that have played in the States. He's got a great track record, Epler, in terms of these Japanese players, because he for a long time was a scout in Japan for the Yankees. So he has experience scouting them and interacting with them. So, yeah, see that ghost forkball? It's gonna be exciting to see him pitch. Because we've never seen him pitch, other than these clips that I posted on YouTube. I really have never seen him pitch, so he's gonna be very exciting to watch. Oh, get this! Oh my God, Steve Cohen made more than $1.7 billion in personal capital gains in the hedge fund last year. My God, that's a lot of money. Robert, what are you coming in with a bad attitude, Robert? What's with the attitude, man? They not giving you the applesauce in the home today? Did you ask for pudding and they gave you applesauce? It was the other way around, Robert? You don't know. I about this channel. The audience ranges. It ranges from 13 years old to 75 years plus. And Robert is kind of on the older side of that. Because he let me know that last year for his birthday. And I forgot to send him a shout out. It was the 31st of July, Robert. But yeah, so I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about the Mets again, of course. We'll talk about Correa again for the millionth time. I think we'll have a resolution with at least the Mets side by Wednesday. I said that a little while ago. And now he might stay unsigned. That's a possibility. But in all likelihood, this is going to come to a conclusion this week by Wednesday with the Mets. Hello, Ramon. And if he signs, I will be watching him closely. If he doesn't sign, I know a lot of people are going to be very angry. I will not be one of them. I think a lot of people that are watching this channel are going to be one of them. But we're going to get into this when hopefully this is resolved. As a fan, I'm annoyed by it. As a YouTuber, I love it. Because as a YouTuber, we keep talking about it. I know people are interested in it. But that's it. That's all she wrote. That's the story. Yeah, I mean, the fact that the Twins have sort of word is getting out that they're progressing in a contract, momentum is waning on the Mets. He doesn't want to budge in the 12 years, I would think. He's not budging on the money. Then you can't give this player this stuff. You can't give this player this money. You just can't. And the injuries that he's had in the major leagues have nothing to do with this bum leg that he has. So, thank you all for coming by. I appreciate you coming on and watching me ramble on, arguing with the chat, making it a lot more lively than the other channels. Dream is to get to 100,000 subscribers, and we're getting there very slowly. And we're going to get there, and hopefully you'll like this channel and subscribe. Let's see where we are in terms of the subs on here before I go. 27 subs. So we need 27 subs. We're getting there very quickly. And I can't thank you enough. And whenever you send me, whenever you watch a video, I get that ad revenue. That's basically the money they get for commercials that you watch on YouTube. But yeah, Correa's got a bum leg. And that's pretty much it. And that's aside from his injury history. So thank you for coming by. Please subscribe to the Baseball Hut. I'll see you tomorrow, either in a video, but probably in a live stream as well. Thank you. Have a good night, and I'll see you later.